Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It's Thomas Rooz Bazar with the Poet Warriors here, and I would like to read you my opening chapter of my novel titled The Any Dead. And The Any Dead is a fictional account of a character, a real life character by the name of Sadegh Hidayat, who is considered one of Iran's most wonderful writers, a 20th century writer. And this book kind of focuses on his time as a young man in 1920s Paris. It's kind of a fictional account that I imagined or reimagined of his time, Sadegh Hidayat's time in 1920s Paris. And this is the opening chapter, and I would like to share it with you. And this is a first, by the way. I've never done this. I'm trying to get this book published, and this is something it's a first for me. So here we go. There was a chill in the air. It was autumn and the weather began to turn. Sadi walked along the Seine all the way south where it forked into the Marne River. He followed the Marne, stayed on the north side, in the 12th arrondissement. He lost track of time, so lost was he in himself, his obsessions. It was his illness. His heated brain had holes. Sadi faced south, a stretch of green on both sides where he stood. He never traveled this far outside his normal routine. He stood on the north side of the river. The water was wide at this point. He was rail thin. Straight on you could see him. In profile, he disappeared. He ate little, scraps only. He took off his fedora and wiped his forehead with a handkerchief, the one he brought with him from Iran. He set his hat back atop his head. To the trained eye, Sadi had several tics and mannerisms. One was how he rubbed his thumb and middle finger together for long periods. Another was smoothing his eyebrows with his pinky. He made circular motions with his feet. His shoes needed mending. He reached into his pocket and knew how many coins he would find. This was another of his obsessions, counting and recounting his money. A month ago, he bought a typewriter, his first, which caused him to tighten his belt even further. He stood there as his nerves calm. His brain was not as heated as usual. The visions which tormented him did not tailspin as they normally did. Zahaks, serpents, were not feasting on his brain. Peaceful moments were short-lived. Everything else was a battle. His failed schooling, Reza Shah, the Ayatollahs, all of it a source of his disgust. He could not shake it off. He would be their sacrificial lamb. But there were greater forces at work. There were the ancient dead in what they spoke to him. And besides, there was Therese sitting under a cypress tree on the opposite bank of the river. A strange sight, as Paris did not have cypress trees. What was she doing there? Therese sat in profile on a blanket. She was European. Sadi was from the East. He believed in demons and eunuchs. He didn't know what she believed in. And even though he was 2 shades lighter than most of his countrymen, he was still an outsider, a foreigner. It was true he was not the most attractive man. He was aware of how scrawny and pale he was. He could stand to put on a few pounds. His most attractive feature was his eyes, how large and dark they were, his penetrating gaze. A man appeared out of nowhere and sat next to Therese, barrel-chested, tall, handsome. His smile was that of a man who could have any woman. Therese presented herself to this Tarzan as if she would give herself over to him completely. And then it happened. She leaned over to kiss him. The kiss lingered, and one thing led to another as things became more heated, groping, heavy panting. Sadi began to hyperventilate and covered his face with his hands. He begged the voices to stop. He spoke in his native Farsi. He muttered and paced here and there, several feet this way, several feet the other. Night fell as Zahak loomed. The sound of slithering snakes entered Sadi's ears. It was either him or the children. It stopped. It all stopped. He remembered why he walked this way, why he chose this spot. He bent over and dug his fingernails into the cold dirt, unearthing a large rock. Bearing the rock against his chest, he walked to the river's edge. There, a fisherman was packing up his belongings for the day. Otherwise, the spot was empty. No one would care, he said to himself. Ahead, the warm lights of homes and a cafe buzzed with laughter. Above, 2 stars burned brightly in the purple sky. Sadi left his glasses on, along with a hat atop his head, spoke a few words in Farsi, and plunged into the depths.
Mmm.
Tasty.